Welcome to this video. Today, I will tell you a story that most people have never heard before. It's about an empire that ruled for more than 600 years, that ruled across 3 continents, Europe, Asia, and Africa. An empire of sultans, warriors, palaces, betrayals, love, and blood. This is the true story of the Ottoman Empire. You don't need to be a history expert. You don't even need perfect English. Because I will tell this story in simple, emotional, powerful English, so you can enjoy the journey and improve your English at the same time. As you listen, you will learn new words, understand how real stories are told in English, and feel connected to one of the greatest empires in human history. Part 1. The birth of an empire. Let's go back, more than 700 years ago. The year is 1299. The place is Anatolia. Today, we call it Turkey. It was not a country back then. It was broken, full of small tribes, small rulers, and war everywhere. The world was not safe. People were afraid. Cities were burning. The Byzantine Empire was falling apart. The powerful Seljuk Empire had already collapsed. And from the east, the Mongols had attacked and destroyed everything in their path. There was no peace, no strong leader, no one to protect the people. But from this chaos, a small tribe stood up. A tribe with no big army, no gold, no power, just a leader and a dream. That leader's name was Osman. He was not a king. He was not rich. He was just a man with a small group of warriors and a big dream to build a land for his people where they could be safe, proud, and strong. Who was Osman? Osman was born around 1258. His father's name was Ertuğrul, a respected tribal leader. Ertuğrul had taught his son honor, courage, and faith. But after his father died, Osman became the new leader of the tribe, the Kayu tribe. At that time, the tribe lived near the borders of the Byzantine Empire, the old Christian empire that once ruled a large part of the world. But now, the Byzantines were weak and broken. Osman saw an opportunity. He believed it was time for a new empire to rise, one that followed Islam, protected the weak, united the Turkish tribes, and fought for justice. How the empire started. Osman started attacking small Byzantine forts, one by one. He didn't attack big cities. He started with small wins. Every time he won, more people joined him. Warriors, farmers, believers. They followed him not for gold, but for purpose. They believed Osman was chosen by God to lead a new era. He didn't call himself a king. He called himself Bey, a leader of the people. But soon the world started to notice. The small tribe of Osman became strong. Other tribes joined him. And in 1299, Osman made the most powerful decision of his life. He declared independence. He said, "We are not under the Seljuks. We are not under the Mongols. We are the Ottoman state, and this is our land." That was the birth of the Ottoman Empire, a name that came from Osman. Osman, Ottoman, in Western pronunciation. Why this part is so important? Because in that moment, a small tribe became an empire, not because of weapons, not because of gold, but because of vision, unity, and faith. Osman didn't live to see the empire grow big, but his son, Orhan, took the dream forward. Part 2. The expansion. From a tribe to a kingdom. After Osman died, his son Orhan became the new leader. Orhan was not just a warrior. He was a builder, a dreamer, a kingmaker. He looked at the land his father had started and said, "This is not enough. We must go further. We must become an empire that the world will never forget." The first big dream of Orhan was to capture a strong, rich city, something more than small forts. He saw the perfect place, Bursa, a beautiful and powerful city held by the Byzantines. It had strong walls, it had wealth, and it was a center of trade. But Orhan didn't rush. He surrounded the city for years. He slowly cut the supply lines. He made smart alliances. He waited like a hunter in the dark. And finally, in 1326, Bursa fell. That victory changed everything. Bursa became the first real capital of the Ottoman Empire. It was no longer just a tribe. It was now a kingdom, with a capital city, with money, with power. In Bursa, Orhan built mosques, schools, markets, and palaces. He wanted the world to see. We are not just fighters. We are builders of a new world. To grow bigger, Orhan knew he needed more than just soldiers. He created a system, a structure that made the Ottomans stronger than any tribe before. 1. A powerful army. He built a regular army called the Yaya. And later, something even more special. The Janissaries, which I'll explain in part 3. 2. A fair tax system. People paid taxes, but they got protection, roads, and justice in return. 3. Freedom of religion. The Ottomans allowed Christians and Jews to practice their faith as long as they respected the empire. 4th. Education and law. He built madrasas, Islamic schools, trained judges, and promoted scholars. They believed, an empire is strong not just with swords, but with smart minds. This new system made people feel safe, and when people feel safe, they don't run. They join. In 1331, Orhan captured the city of Nicaea, today's Iznik, another powerful Byzantine city. With every victory, more land came, more followers came, and the world began to notice. The Byzantines were shocked. The Christians in Europe were worried. Even the Mongols started to look closely. But Orhan stayed calm. He didn't call himself Sultan yet. He was still humble, using titles like Bey or Ghazi, a warrior for Islam. But inside the empire, the Ottoman name was growing. People began to say, maybe these are the leaders we've been waiting for. Here's something you wouldn't expect. Orhan's son, Suleiman Pasha, went across the sea into Europe. Yes, Europe. The Ottomans, who had started as a small tribe, were now crossing into Thrace, today's part of Greece and Bulgaria. They didn't go there with a huge war. They helped a Byzantine prince in a civil war. In return, they got land in Europe. It was a quiet step, a soft step, but it was the beginning of Ottoman expansion into Europe, a moment that would one day change all of world history. Orhan legacy. Orhan ruled for about 35 years. When he died, he left behind a powerful capital, a strong army, a growing empire, a system of law and respect, and land in both Asia and Europe. From his father Osman's dream, he built something real, stable, ready for greatness. But the next generation would do something even bigger, something the world would never forget. Part 3. The Rise of the Sultanate. Orhan was gone, but the empire he built was just getting started. Now the Ottomans had a strong city, Bursa, a system of taxes and laws, land in both Asia and Europe, and the respect of thousands of people. But what they needed now was a true sultan, someone who would not just protect the empire, but take it to the next level. Meet Murad Dagh. The first true sultan, the son of Orhan, was named Murad. He was not loud, not angry, not flashy. He was patient, intelligent, strategic. But when it came to power, he was stronger than anyone imagined. In 1362, Murad became the ruler of the Ottoman Empire. But he didn't just call himself Bey or Prince like his father and grandfather. He gave himself a new name, Sultan, a word that meant ruler with both worldly and spiritual power. This was a bold step. It meant that the Ottomans were no longer just a tribe, no longer just a small state. Now they were a royal empire. Murad saw that Bursa was too far from Europe. The Ottomans had already started entering European lands. So he captured a new city, a powerful one, Edirne, also known as Adrianople. It was once a proud Byzantine city. Now it became the second capital of the Ottoman Empire and the first capital inside Europe. From here, the Ottomans could expand further into Greece, Bulgaria, Serbia, and beyond. Edirne was beautiful. Big mosques, busy markets, soldiers everywhere, and a symbol of the new Ottoman power. But Murad didn't stop at cities. He knew an empire could only grow with a fearless army. So he created one of the most powerful and most feared military forces in history, the Janissaries. These were not regular soldiers. They were trained from childhood, disciplined, loyal, obedient. They followed only one master, the Sultan. How were they trained? They were often Christian boys from conquered lands, taken as children, raised in Islamic culture, and trained in fighting, leadership, and loyalty. This system was called the Devshirme. Some people today criticize this system, but back then, it made the empire stronger and gave these boys education, training, power, a chance to rise to the highest positions in the empire. The Janissaries were elite, no marriage, no private property. Their life was the empire. They became the heart of Ottoman military power for centuries. And because of them, the Ottomans now had something other empires didn't. An unstoppable army trained for victory, not for money, not for land, but for loyalty. The battles begin. Now Murad had a real empire. He had 2 capitals, Bursa and Edirne, a system of taxes and laws, religious tolerance. Christians and Jews could live peacefully under Ottoman rule, and the Janissaries, his iron army. It was time to move forward. Murad looked at the map and saw an opportunity. The Balkan region, Greece, Bulgaria, Serbia, Albania, was weak and divided. Different kings, small armies, too much fighting among themselves. Murad moved quickly. He captured Plovdiv, Sofia, Nice, and many other cities, one after another. People were shocked. "Who are these Turks?" they asked. "How are they taking over everything?" But the answer was simple: discipline, unity, purpose. The Europeans tried to resist. They formed alliances. They asked for help from Hungary, Venice, even the Pope in Rome. But Murad's army was too fast, too smart, too strong. In 1389, a major event changed history: the Battle of Kosovo. On one side, the Ottoman Empire, led by Murad. On the other side, a large Christian army, led by Prince Lazar of Serbia. It was a bloody and violent war. Thousands died. The ground was red. No one knew who would win. But in the end, the Ottomans won. They destroyed the Serbian army and became the new power in the Balkans. But victory came at a cost. During the battle, Murad was killed, possibly by an enemy pretending to surrender. It was a moment of shock. But Murad's son was ready. After Murad's death, his son Bayezid took power. He was fast, furious, brilliant in battle. His nickname was Yildirim, which means the lightning. Why? Because his attacks were fast, powerful, and unexpected. Bayezid continued his father's work. He expanded the empire deep into Europe. He fought against Hungary, Bulgaria, and even threatened Constantinople, the heart of the Byzantine Empire. The world began to whisper, maybe the Ottomans are unstoppable. Bayezid expanded the Ottoman Empire faster than any sultan before him. He defeated Christian kingdoms, crushed local rebellions, and even surrounded Constantinople, the ancient city of the Byzantine Empire. The world was starting to believe. Maybe the Ottomans really will take over the whole world. But just as Bayezid was preparing for his greatest victory, a monster was coming from the east, a man whose name made even kings tremble, a man whose armies moved like a storm. His name was Timur, also known as Tamerlane. Timur was not an ordinary conqueror. He came from Central Asia, from the same lands where Genghis Khan's blood still echoed. He claimed to be Genghis Khan's spiritual successor. He was not a sultan, not a caliph, not a king. He was a warlord, a destroyer, a shadow of fire. His army was powerful, fast, and extremely brutal. He had already crushed Persia, destroyed Baghdad, broken kingdoms in India, and burned cities to ashes. Now, Timur's eyes turned toward Anatolia, the heartland of the Ottomans. Why did Timur attack Bayezid? It wasn't just about land. It wasn't just about power. It was about ego. Bayezid had called himself Sultan of Rum, the Sultan of Rome, a title that Timur believed belonged to him. Also, both leaders were proud, ambitious, and unwilling to bow. Timur sent a message to Bayezid demanding respect. Bayezid replied with insults. Their letters were like fire and thunder. They didn't just disagree, they hated each other. And so, war was coming. The two greatest Muslim powers of the time, Bayezid with his powerful Ottoman army, Timur with his brutal, massive Mongol Turkic force. They met near the city of Ankara in the year 1402. It was summer, hot, dusty. The air was thick with fear. Bayezid's army was confident. He had won many battles before, but Timur had a secret weapon, strategy. He used spies. He spread rumors to turn Bayezid's allies against him. He even freed Turkish princes who hated Bayezid and made them fight against their own sultan. When the battle began, it was chaos. Some of Bayezid's troops betrayed him and joined Timur during the fight. His lines broke. His army panicked. The proud sultan tried to fight, but it was too late. Bayezid was captured, and that moment broke the empire. Imagine it. The man who ruled the greatest Islamic empire, now a prisoner in a foreign tent, in chains. It is said that Timur kept Bayezid in a cage. Some say he treated him like a dog. Others say Timur allowed him to live with his wives, but in deep shame. The truth is debated, but one thing is clear. The empire that rose like lightning had now fallen into darkness. Bayezid died in captivity in 1403. Some say it was suicide, others say it was grief. But what mattered more was what happened next. Bayezid had many sons, but he never chose a clear heir. So after his death, his sons began to fight each other for the throne. This period, from 1403 to 1413, is called the Ottoman Interregnum. It means time between kings. It was a civil war, a brother against brother, each one claiming to be the rightful sultan. This was the most dangerous time in Ottoman history. If they failed now, the entire empire would be lost forever. Enemies from Europe attacked Ottoman lands. Christian kingdoms took back cities. The empire became weak, confused, and broken. But after 10 years of chaos, one brother rose above the rest. The son who finally took control was Mehmet I, the son of Bayezid. He was not just a fighter, he was a healer. He brought the empire back together. He defeated his brothers, stopped European invasions, rebuilt broken cities, reorganized the army, restored the government. Mehmet then was not a conqueror like his father, but he was something more important, a saver of the empire. Without him, there would be no Ottoman Empire today. He ruled from 1413 to 1421 and died peacefully, leaving the empire stable again. But the world didn't know. The real storm was still coming. Part 4. The Conquest of Constantinople. After Mehmet the Rebuilder died, the Ottoman Empire was alive again. But it was not yet complete. It was strong, it was respected, it ruled many cities. But one city still stood like a challenge, a city of ancient power, a city of dreams, a city that had survived attacks for more than 1,000 years. That city was Constantinople. Constantinople was the capital of the Byzantine Empire. It was one of the most famous cities in world history, built by Emperor Constantine in the year 330 AD. For over 1,000 years it was the center of the Christian Orthodox Church, the capital of the Eastern Roman Empire, a symbol of power, faith, and tradition. It had the strongest walls in the world, a deep moat, giant towers, and it was surrounded by water on 3 sides. Many empires had tried to conquer it. All had failed. And so, to take this city was not just about war. It was about making history. After Mehmet the died, his son Murad II ruled for some time. He fought many battles and kept the empire stable. But the real fire came from Murad's son, Mehmed II. Mehmed was only 12 years old when he first became sultan. Too young, too inexperienced. So after a few years, his father returned to rule again. But when Murad died in 1451, Mehmed became sultan again, now 19 years old. He was no longer a child. He was focused, educated, strategic, and obsessed with one dream: to conquer Constantinople. Mehmed's advisors said, "It's impossible. Too many armies have failed. We will lose everything." Even Europe laughed. A 19-year-old boy against a 1,000-year-old city? But Mehmed didn't care. He had been studying the city since he was a child. He knew its weaknesses. He believed it was his destiny. He said, "Either I will conquer Constantinople, or Constantinople will conquer me." Mehmed didn't just attack blindly. He began a plan that shocked the world. Built the biggest cannon the world had ever seen. It was designed by a Hungarian engineer named Urban. The cannon was so large it could only fire once every few hours, but it could break even the strongest walls. Built a fortress on the Bosphorus, called Rumeli Hisarı. It stopped all ships from bringing help to Constantinople. It was a signal to the Byzantines. We are coming. Collected an army of over 80,000 men, janissaries, cavalry, engineers, and builders. He had soldiers from many different lands, built a naval fleet, ships, to attack the city from the sea as well. Constantinople was surrounded by water, so he needed both land and sea power. The attack begins. April 6th, 1453. Mehmed arrived at the city walls with his massive army. The Byzantine Emperor, Constantine XI, had less than 10,000 defenders. Still, they stood strong. The city's walls were thick, high, and legendary. The Byzantines believed God would protect them. But Mehmed was ready for war. For 7 long weeks, the Ottomans attacked the walls. The cannons kept firing. Ladders and towers were built to climb the walls. The ships attacked from the sea. The Byzantines used Greek fire, a special weapon to burn enemy ships. But the city would not fall. Days passed. Weeks passed. Mehmed became more aggressive. He carried ships across land using logs and ropes to surprise the enemy from another side. Even his enemies said, "No one has ever done this before." But the walls still stood. Until finally, May 29th, 1453, before dawn, Mehmed gave one final order. "We attack, all forces, all sides, now." The soldiers moved like thunder. The cannons broke part of the wall. The Janissaries stormed in, screams, blood, smoke. After 53 days of non-stop fighting, the great city fell. The Byzantine Emperor Constantine XI died fighting, like a warrior king. But the city was taken. When Constantinople fell, the world gasped. The city that had survived for over 1,100 years was now in the hands of a 21-year-old Muslim ruler. Mehmed II walked into the city with tears in his eyes. He went straight to the Hagia Sophia, the greatest church in the city. He stood in silence. Then he ordered it to be protected. He didn't destroy the churches. He didn't kill civilians. He declared, "From today, this city is ours, and it shall be called Istanbul." The people of the city were shocked. Many had feared the Ottomans, but Mehmed brought order. He gave protection to Christians and Jews, freedom of worship, new homes to those who had lost everything. He built mosques, libraries, schools, hospitals, palaces. He invited scholars, architects, and poets. He wanted Istanbul to be the center of the world. Under his rule, the empire became a cultural, political, and military superpower. The West was shocked, the East was amazed, and the Muslim world celebrated. The Ottoman Empire had now become one of the most powerful empires in history. After Mehmed II, many great sultans would come. Suleiman the Magnificent, the lawgiver. Selim the Grim, who took Egypt. Ahmed I, who built the famous Blue Mosque. But it was Mehmed who changed everything. His victory ended the Byzantine Empire forever. It marked the end of the Middle Ages and the start of a new world. The legacy of the Ottoman Empire. It lasted for more than 600 years. It ruled parts of Europe, Asia, and Africa. It gave the world art, science, architecture, and powerful leaders. And it showed us that even a small tribe, with faith, vision, and unity, can change the course of history. Maybe you never knew this story before. Maybe this is your first time hearing about the Ottomans. But now you know. They were more than warriors. They were builders, dreamers, and leaders. They were not perfect, but they were powerful. And like the rise of their empire, you too can rise. Even if your life feels like a small tribe now. With discipline, faith, and courage, you can build your own empire. This wasn't just about kings or battles. It was about vision, faith, and never giving up. The Ottoman Empire teaches us something important. You don't need to be powerful to begin. But if you begin with purpose, with belief, you can become powerful. Just like Osman had a dream, just like Mehmed had a mission. You too have something inside you. Maybe today you feel small. Maybe you think your English isn't strong. Maybe you think the world has forgotten you. But never forget this. Empires rise from nothing. So can you. You didn't just watch a video today. You walked through history. You learned real English. You grew stronger. And that's something to be proud of. So now, hold your head high, speak with courage, and keep going forward. Because your story is not over. In fact, it's just beginning. Thank you for being here with me. Thank you for learning with me. And thank you for never giving up. If this story touched your heart, please subscribe, like, and share it with the world. Because stories like this deserve to be remembered. And people like you deserve to rise. Goodbye, my friend. Until we meet again in the next story. Take care, keep learning, and never stop believing. Your empire is waiting.